Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1435. Today we're talking about how to connect with others when you're researching your family tree. So if you're using something like Ancestry or MyHeritage or Family Tree Maker or any of the other programs that are out there, there are ways that other people can see your tree. And what I have found over all of the years since since Ancestry started on the internet back in 1999, I think it was. All I know is I've been with Ancestry since day one. But then there's ways that you can lock down trees as well, but they can still see names of people who have passed. They can't see the actual tree though. They can only, if they're researching a name and it happens to come up with your tree, they may connect with you. So I have many trees on my Ancestry account because I work for clients. And on MyHeritage, I have several trees there as well because that's the program my client uses. And the same with the other programs as well. So what happens is that people will reach out to the tree owner and say, hey, you've got this person in your tree. Can I see you? Can I have access to your tree to have a look at? No. I keep my trees pretty well locked down. And I was actually talking with a friend today and about her tree, and it suddenly dawned on me that it's something that's been bugging me for a while because I have the one massive tree that has over 10,000 people in it. Some of it's from my side of the family, some of it's from Brad's side. It's a combined tree. And I'm like, I really would like if I could have if there was some way in Ancestry to go, everybody from this point over here on this side, I want on one tree, to like split a tree. So that I could then put all of Brad's stuff into one tree for access to that side of the family, and I can put all of my stuff in one tree for access to that side of the family. And because that's one reason why I don't let people in on my tree, is because I have this massive tree that involves not just my family, but my husband's family as well. So I think it's a good idea to keep trees separated if you're doing like wife's tree, husband's tree. That's what, keep them separate. Yes, you can have a massive one tree, but make sure that if you're check with what you're going to be giving out there. There's no way to split the tree right now in Ancestry, and I would absolutely love if I was able to do that. But what happens is that you can actually reach out to the tree owners in Ancestry and ask them questions about the people in their tree, especially if they have it locked down. Or if they have information in there, then you're sort of like, that kind of seems like the person that's in my tree, but the information isn't matching up. I need to find out more, because you're always wanting to verify your records. And and as I tell all of my clients, one of the things that, because on Ancestry you get those little green leaves, and they're always fun. I love seeing the little green leaves pop up. I'm like, oh, I wonder what new hint and tip we've got in there today. And you can go in and have a look. And there is one hint I will never, ever, ever accept into my tree. And I learned this the hard way. And that is, if somebody else has a tree and it shows you the other person's tree with the mat, here's your ancestor here, here's who they were married to, here's their information, their parents, their children, blah, 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 blah. And you're not going to go, oh, that looks like my tree. Oh, yes, they're exactly the same information. I'm going to accept that. Do not do that. And here is why. Here is why I personally do not do this, and why I advise people not to do it. You don't know what information they have in their tree. You don't know how accurate their information is. Yes, on the surface, it may match up and it may look good. It matches my information and everything else. But have you verified their information to make sure it's right to go into your tree? Because what happened, this is how I learned this, as I went, oh, they've got the information here. Yep, there's all the kids listed. Yeah, there's the parent. Yeah, got the right parents, got the right birth dates, the right death dates, the right marriage year. Yep, it's all matching up. And then I go accept. What you don't see is that all of a sudden you've now got siblings of the person you're researching, and there's all these different people coming in. You're going, who are these people? And it turned out that yes, there was a list of like 9 children from this family. This ancestor had 9 siblings, And I'm going through this list and going, they never had 9 siblings. Because I had been through the census reports and pulled out the information. I had been through all the birth records and pulled out the information. I had done a lot of research and knew that in that family, they only had X number of children. But I also learned when I was doing that there was another couple that had, where it was similar names, and somehow somebody had put them together in one tree under one person. And I found out that, and so I had to contact the person in that tree going, hey, in all the research I have done, this is what I have found. On your tree, you've got these extra kids. Where did they come from? And so they've come back and told me. But and we were able to get their tree sorted out, but there was a lot of stuff I had to go in and suddenly start pulling out of my tree because of incorrect information. So you have to be careful. I use those trees of other members. I use them for hints of what to look for next. Like if I'm struggling, I'm going, damn, I wonder, I know that there was another, I know that they had 5 children. They didn't have 6, they had 5. So where's that fifth, and I've only got 4. So where's the 5th child? I know they had one. And so I'll go into those trees that are part of the hints, and I'll have a look and see, is there 6 children listed? Is there 5 children listed? Do they only have 4? Do they have 3? And I'm looking for names that are not in my tree. And then I go in and I have a look at what sources that they use to get that information, because you're able to see the number of sources that people have. And it's kind of amazing. And some of them turn around and they go, well, all of this information, they had 23 sources that they got all of this information from. And I'm like, oh, which sources did they use? And I go in and have a look and go, okay, well, I've got a different record for that birth as a different record from that one. This is my tree. This is their tree. We've got 2 different birth records here. And quite often when you get similar names like John Smith, who's married to Sue, you don't know who Sue is. And you've got a different John Smith with a different Sue who have had children, and somebody goes, oh, they're the ones from my tree. Yay. And they just go plug them in. But when you actually get down deeper and you start doing comparison, and there's ways that you can do comparison charts like on an Excel spreadsheet. Here's John Smith married to Sue. Now let's follow down this thing. Where did I find that record? What information did it provide me with, and everything else? And do I have 2 different John Smiths with a wife called Sue, or do I have the right one? And you can use that to help comparisons and fill in the blanks and all of that. And I actually, when I learned that method, I was like, this is so cool. But so then it comes down to contacting people. How do you contact people? I often, and I mean often, through Ancestry, I will get somebody will send me a thing. Hey, you've got John Smith in your tree who was born in this year. Can I have access to your tree? And I'm like, no. And I replied back to them. I said, I'm sorry, but unless you can give me more information, I'm happy to share information, but I will not be sharing my tree with you, because it's obviously that the person on the other end may not have a clue. When you are contacting somebody and you say, hey, I noticed that you have William John, I don't know, need a last name, William John, oh, my mind's going, I keep going back to a Smith. I don't want Smith. I want a different last name. William John Rogers. There we go. William John Rogers. So if you need more information and you come across William John Rogers, that's in somebody else's tree, it's a private tree. You can't see it, so you need to contact the tree owner. So when you do the contacting the tree owner, you go, hi, introduce yourself. This is who I am. This is my family that I am researching. I noticed in your tree that you had what I call him, William John Rogers, who was born in this particular year. It looks like his parents are this couple here. It looks like he got married to this person. So you're giving them detail to make it easier for them to find. Because if you go into a tree where they have a lot of the same last name, and they've got a lot of the same first names, and I'll give you an example in a moment. So when you get that lot of information, so when you're able to give them an information that says, these are the parents, this is who he is, this is where he was born, this is when he died, this is who he got married to, this is when they got married. If you can give them as much information about that person as possible and how you're related to that person. Like, for example, with my family, my maiden name is Eakins. And over in England, if you're looking up Eakins, it's about as common as Smith. Especially around the 1800s. And the most common first, and of course people go, oh, you've got George Eakins on your thing. Can I have access to your tree? And I'm like, no. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, with Eakins, they had, I can remember all of this. There was George Eakins, there was John Eakins, there was William Eakins, there was Thomas Eakins, and there's one missing. George, John, William, Thomas. Who was the fifth one? George, John, William, Thomas. There's a fifth one in there. Because there's five. There was with the Eakins, there was 5 common names in the 1800s in a particular regional area, in a particular county. Yeah, county within England, and you could very easily get them mixed up. There was George, John, William, Thomas. There's one more name. What's the other name? And the problem with this is that they had very common first names. George, John, William. Oh, what was that fifth name? It's going to bug me now. Let's see if I can quickly find it here. What was that other name? John. I've got John. Got George. Usually I can rattle them off. And for some reason today I've got a blockage. I'm just quickly looking through. That wasn't Edward. It wasn't Walter. There's William. George again. John. George, John, Thomas, William, and... Oh, this is bugging me. There's a fifth name that goes with all of these names. That was very common, and you could very easily get them mixed up. If you just had first name, last name, like a Thomas Eakins, you really had to do some really deep digging to find out, was there a middle name? I said George, didn't I? Yeah. To see a very common name in there. I know Sarah was on the woman's side, was a very common one. Oh, this is bugging me because I can't remember that. Normally I can just, and they're out there. Okay, it will come to me. It will come to me. But when you're looking, so like if you're looking up, this is, what was that fifth? There was a fifth name. Oh my gosh. It's totally gone. George, John, Thomas, William, James. That was it, James. I'm just writing these down. Okay, so looking around the 1800s in one particular county in England, there was a oodles of George, John, James, William, and Thomas Eakins. And you had to get very specific. And I know in the 1800s area, there is a screw up I have in my tree because I put in the wrong George Eakins or the wrong Thomas. I put in the wrong one of those ones. But then you had to go and figure out which one is this one. And so you get queries. Oh, I see you have a George Eakins in your tree that was born in Huntingdonshire in 1839. Okay, well, I have 6 of them. Can I please have some more information? And they just go off that one string. You've got a George Eakins in your tree that was born in Huntingdonshire in 1832. Can I have access to your tree? No. Because I had 6 George Eakins that were born in 1832, aging them 100 years, and 1832 that were born in Huntingdonshire. Which one? And they're like, well, I don't know. I go, neither do I. So when you're contacting someone, yes, you've got this George Eakins that was born in 1832 in Huntingdonshire. You can put in there, these were his parents. If you know, these were his parents. He had this many siblings. I believe that his siblings' names were these names here. I have yet to verify that these were actually his siblings. He got married to Sarah, which happens to be a very common name for an Eakins wife. And they got married, and give as much information about that person, not just the person that you're looking for, but their parents, any siblings, and any children, and who they got married to. Give as much detail as you can. There are ways that when you're in the family tree, if you see somebody in a tree from somebody else and you want to inquire about that particular person, that you can click on it and ask that you want to know about this person. Again, you've still got to give, yes, you've picked that person out of the tree. You still have to give them further information. And I've sent back saying, hey, look, if you would like me to assist you with this, this is the information you need to provide me, because I have, George, John, William, Thomas, or James, whichever one it is. I have over 100 of those in my tree, born around the 1800 and around from early 1800s through to late 1800s in that particular area. So I need more information. I'm happy to help, but unless you provide me the information, I can't give you any assistance. So you got to think of that. It's like sometimes, okay, so for example, I work on a help chat and people go, I'm having an issue. That's all they type. So now we have to turn around and type, okay, we are happy to assist you. How can we assist you today? And then they'll go into their explanation, or they'll just put their help. And I'm like, okay, how can we assist you today? And so you've got to go and feeding out that information. And it's the same with genealogy. When people contact you, you're having to pull information out of them to get the information, to find out who is it that they're actually wanting information on. And when it comes, like with the George Eakins in 1832, that was born in Huntingdonshire, by the time they give me the right information, it turns out it was actually George Eakins that was born in Rounds, Northamptonshire. So completely different, in a completely different area. And then they gave me the information. Now, for me, I create a lot of mini trees within my tree. So I have my big main tree, and I can create little mini trees. And if I come across an Eakins name, I will literally create a mini tree for that person until I find out where in my tree they fit. I have lots of mini trees in my tree because I don't want to lose that information. And that's a way for me to keep the information in the tree by creating a mini tree. And sometimes the information they're looking for is that mini tree. And I go, look, I don't have a lot of information. I said, basically, you've got more information than I have. They're like, well, who are they attached to? I said, I don't know. I said, I have them as a mini tree within my main tree because I know that they fit in there somewhere. I have yet to find that connection to put them in the tree. And they're like, oh, so you really have no more? I said, no, actually, you provided me with more information, so thank you very much. Is there anyone else I can help you with? So be specific when you are reaching out. It's like with the DNA result, DNA ones. These are my favorite ones. Hey, I see that on the DNA results that we're fourth cousins. Are we really? Maybe we're second cousins. So, and it's sort of like, okay, you see that we're fourth cousins. Can I please have some more information? Which branch of the family are you from? And so don't think people cannot read your mind. You might turn and say, oh, look, we're fourth cousins. We're fourth cousins. Yay. And it's like, okay, I have a lot of fourth cousins that are in that DNA matching thing. A lot. There's a lot that comes up. The more, the lower you go down, or the higher you go in cousin, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, the deeper that you go that way, the wider it gets and the wider the samples of DNA that come in. So DNA will show that you are blood related, but to find out how you are related, you have to do your genealogy research. So it's all very well sitting around saying, hey, we're fourth cousins. Okay. On which side of the family? My paternal side of the family, my maternal side of the family, my father's side, my mother's side. Which side of the family are you on? How are you connected to me? Who's some of your relatives who's some of your ancestry lines? And so you've got to, again, pull more information out. So if you're contacting somebody, people are busy. So the more information you can give up front to, if you want to find out about that particular person in their tree, or you want to explore the DNA match further, the more information you can give, the better it is for the person who is receiving it to be able to assist you. And if you're going in on a help chat, here's another, because basically this is kind of like, when I'm working on the help chat, I'm like, this is like when I get requests for genealogy from people. They just give a word like help, or I need help, or automations, or they just put like one or two words there, and they expect you to know that they need assistance with that. No, what is the act? So when you're typing into a help chat, go, hi, I'm having an issue with, and then describe the issue, and then send it in. And a lot of times you'll find that the little chat box thing, you can just sit there and just type and type and type and type, because I get a lot of people that will type one sentence per, they fill up that little chat box, hit send, fill up the chat box, hit send. No, it goes, it keeps going. So, and then the same with the connecting with people and through the genealogy sites and stuff as well. You don't just get that little window, you actually get a lot more. And if it does have a limit on it, it will tell you at the bottom of the window what the limit on the characters are. And you can see it counting down. And that helps you because now you've got to be more concise. But you may have to send a second email. And I have had people that have emailed me, that have sent me messages through the different programs and stuff, and given me quite detailed information, which has made it super easy, because now I can go into my tree. This is the person that they're looking for. Do I have that person in my tree? Well, I've got about 4 of them. Okay. They've got the parents here. Okay, so let's look up the parents. Okay, well, I have 2 fathers who have the same name, but I don't have their wives listed. So now I have a problem. I have the father, his children, but I don't have the names of their wives. And I've got, 2 fathers, 2 different fathers who have a child with the same name, born around the same time in the same area. You had this happen too, and no wives listed. So, okay, so who did the person in question get married to? Oh, they don't have a wife listed. What children did they have? Because if they're looking for somebody in their ancestry line, they're going to have children in there. Oh, they've got those children in there. Okay, let's go. Oh, it's those common names again. George, James, John, William, and Thomas. Great. And I will tell you this, I went through 181 John Eakins that was born in a 5-year period in one area of England to find the one that fitted in my tree. It took me 4 years to go through 181 John Eakins born in a 5-year period in that area of England. This is why when you are contacting other people, you need to give as much information as possible to help them pinpoint who you are. Because if you just give them the name and the date, if you went into my family tree, you would have had 181 John Eakins sitting there, all in their little micro trees. And there are a lot of John Eakins in my little micro trees. And then it's sort of like, I have 181. Which one? Can you narrow it down a little further? I'm like, oh, well, they were born about this time. Yeah, that puts them right in the middle of my 181 of them. Do you have any further information? Who did they get married to? Who were their parents? Who were their children? Did they have any siblings? Oh, yeah, they had a sibling. It was George. Okay, so my 181 John Eakins has now gone down to about 50 that had a known brother that's George that I have in the tree. But don't count out the other 131 because some of them may have had a brother called George as well. Now, was George younger or older than John? So you're having to find this information. So if you can give the information up front, it makes it so much easier to communicate in that, instead of one person having to sit there and go, well, what other information do you have? What other information do you have? To try and get out the information that they need to help find that person in their own tree. And just remember, some people have massive trees. Some people have trees that are bigger than mine. I have 10,000 in mine, over 10,000 people. Some people have way more in their tree than I do. But then they also come from extremely large families. I have, what do I have in my tree? List of all the people. Oh, come on. There was one point they used to tell me, oh, sorry, I have 8,338 people in my tree. Yeah. And sometimes when it comes to the women, Elizabeth and Sarah and Mary, Elizabeth, Sarah, Mary, hang on, here I go with the women's names. Elizabeth, Sarah, Mary, and Christine, that was the other one, Christine, are the most common wives' names that I have in my tree. So it makes it very interesting to go and try and find these. Oh, Hannah, that was the other one. There was another one, Hannah. So those are the top wives' names that I have, and most of those I do not have last names for them because I don't know. Because when you're doing a tree, always put in the tree the woman's maiden name, what their birth name, last name was, not their married name, because their birth records, their baptismal records, their christening records, school records, anything prior to them getting married will be under their maiden name. So if you're looking up any of those parish records or anything else and you're trying to find them under their married name, you're not going to find them unless the parish has them listed as the mother, but even then you won't find them either. But you might find the husband's the last name and then hers a side thing, but you won't find any records for her until after they were married. So always be aware that there is a maiden name. So I've got Elizabeth, Sarah, Mary, Christine, and Hannah as the most common first names for wives, which I have multiples of those that I have no maiden name for. And so, yeah, that makes it a little tricky when they turn around and say, oh, you've got Elizabeth in your tree. She was born in 1832 and I'm like, well, what was Elizabeth's last name? Well, I don't know, but she got married to George Eakins. Okay. I have, and I'll tell them how many George Eakins I have in that time period that had a wife by the name of Elizabeth or Sarah or Hannah. So yeah, you got to be careful with what you're asking for and realize that in some places, now if you have a unique name, that makes it a little easier. But if you are doing your family tree research, you will know in your research that you're coming across all of these other people. And now you're having to go through, 7 or 8 or 181 to find the one that fits in your tree. So you've got to be careful with that. And you have to, so when you are asking somebody about a person in their tree, you have to give them as much detail as you can. And also too, let them know how you are related to that person. Because sometimes somebody comes in and I'm like, well, I have no clue who you are. And that information is a little close to home because it's, not far from, it's close to the, where I am, on the tree, and it's kind of close in. So you're asking information on my great-grandparents, you're asking information for my grandparents. Who are you and how are you related? So make sure you put that in there. You could turn around and say, well, I'm looking for John Eakins, who was born in 1835 in Warboys, Huntingdonshire, in England. And he got married to, what was Sarah's last name? I don't remember Sarah's last name. The reason I'm looking for these people is that they are in my, he's my 7th great, my 6th great grandfather or something like that. So at least then they have a form of reference as to how you're doing this tree. Or it could be, now I know when somebody who is either a professional genealogist or very much a serious hobbyist on genealogy, because they give me a whole story. They send me a whole story. And I'm like reading through all this and going, oh, yes, I know exactly who they're talking about. Oh, I didn't know that about that person. I'm going to have to put that on my list to check out, because I never take anything somebody sends me as gospel, because you've got to check it out. You have, even if it's from a professional genealogist, you still have to go back and check the sources to make sure that it is the right person that fits in your tree, even if everything else is lining up. So anyway, that's it from us for today. So when you are asking for help in your family tree, please be as detailed as possible. Let the person know how you are related. Are you a genealogist who's working on a tree for a client? Are you working on a part of your family tree, and this is how you're related to that side of the family or that portion of the family? Or is it a direct ancestor that you're looking for? Let people know, because the more information you give them, the more they are willing to help in things. And it's with anything. So not just with genealogy, but anything that if you're asking somebody for help, give them the details. Give them the details as to what the problem is, and don't force them to mind read or having to come back and go, you're going to have to give me more information. I need more information. I need more information. Stop that rigmarole. People are busy. Get in, get out, you're done. That's it. So that's it from us for tonight. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. Have you ever, so a question for today is, have you ever contacted somebody about somebody in your tree and or had somebody contact you about information in your tree, and how did they go about asking? What information did they provide you? Were you was it one of those ones that like, hey, you got John Smith in your tree that was born in 1832. I don't know why I'm stuck on that year, but 1832 in Kent. Okay. Good luck with that one. So how much information did they give you? Were you able to help them? It's just, it's in the details. It's in cases of genealogy, it is better to give too much information than not enough. And even if you're putting a request in on a help chat as well, it's better to give as much information as you can. Hey, I've got an issue with my toilet, so I have to go in and put a maintenance request in for the landlord for the property management company to send somebody out to fix it. So what do I put? I don't just put toilets running. I go, it's every 15 to 20 minutes, the tank refills. You've had 2 guys out here to fix it so far, and it went from continually running to refilling every 15 minutes to refilling every hour. Now it's refilling every 15 minutes again. Please send somebody to fix this. Be specific on things. But usually there's some programs out there that will actually walk you through. But just remember, more is better than less when it comes to asking questions on genealogy, especially if it is a common name that you are looking for. And you'll know this from your research. You will know if you have common names. Like I've got George, John, Williams, Thomas, and James Eakins. I must be looking for John Smith. But anyway, so just be prepared to give more information, to make sure you give enough information. Let them know why you're researching these people. How are you related to them? Are you a genealogist genealogists should know better anyway, but you never know. You never know. Anyway, so that's it from us for today. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. It's Fun Friday tomorrow, so have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. Heck on